Hello everyone, just Gordon here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video, and the Asia Animal Pack brought us another elephant. Did we really need another elephant? It looks pretty good in game. But yeah, the Bornean elephant isn't all that common in zoos. So while I do have some zoos that should have Bornean elephants, I'm gonna use this opportunity to show you just some more Asian elephant habitats. We've already done an Asian elephant video, so today I've got a few more Asian elephant habitats to look at. So let's jump into those, starting with the Zoo of Hannover, which does actually have the Bornean elephant. At least according to the website zoelefanten.de, a German website that keeps track of all the elephants in all the zoos. According to them, the elephant called Manari is a Bornean elephant. Which one is it among all of these elephants in this enclosure? I have no idea, but the enclosure itself actually looks pretty beautiful. We've got all this nice temple theming, lots of greenery around still as well. The enclosures aren't super huge, but I do love the way that they are built up with these different tiers. And there is actually a lot of empty space behind the enclosure, which in the master plan of the zoo is going to be given to the elephants. They do intend on expanding this enclosure and giving the animals more space, which is really good, and I look forward to seeing that in the future. The temple does continue on over here, and this is just such a beautiful facade with the greenery overgrowing it. It just looks really cool. And on the inside over here there is some more elephant decoration and also elephant education as you go into these little what look like cages almost. And we got a big tusk over here that you can touch and look at, and then there is some more education about elephant conservation and things like that. So really cool stuff, really beautiful enclosure. And that's it for Hannover. The next zoo is Pairi Daiza. And Pairi Daiza was featured in the previous Asian elephant habitat video, but apparently there were a few things I missed. I was at Pairi Daiza recently and I saw this. This is the elephant bath presentation, where a bunch of elephants are taken out of their enclosure and led along this corridor of reinforced fence to this little beach area where they can bathe in the big lake of the zoo, which is just really fascinating and interesting. At least I've never really seen anything like this done at a zoo, where this is a thing that's not really part of the elephant's habitat and they're taken out of it like this, getting so close to the public. Definitely really unique, though I'm not 100% sure I agree with it completely. I'm always more of a fan of zoos that take a more hands-off approach when it comes to especially elephant husbandry, but I gotta admit it's definitely really cool to see the elephants in the water like this in such an open space, and yeah, you get some really unique sights this way. So that is definitely a really cool thing and really inspiring as well, which is why I wanted to include it in this video. I'm pretty sure you could make something like this in Planet Zoo using the animal talks and stuff like that, so yeah. Definitely try that, it would be really cool. The enclosures for the Asian elephants have also received an upgrade a little bit since the last video I did on them. You can see these towers are being erected in the habitat. Those are going to be for gibbons to be climbing around above the elephants. You can also see grass is being planted here, not sure how long that will last. And yeah, let's just take a little look at the other enclosures as well, just a brief glance over them. Because Pairi Daiza does also have a Bornean elephant. Once again, it's just a single one. She is called Sayang, I'm pretty sure, and yeah, according again to zoelefanten.de, that is the Bornean elephant at Pairi Daiza. Again, no idea if I've seen her or not. She could be in any of the several enclosures they have for the elephants here. But yeah, over here we have the indoor stalls for the elephants, which I couldn't see last time because they were closed. And sadly this time this was going on here. Some kind of elephant feeding activity that you could queue up for. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It made me feel very uncomfortable, so we turned around and got out of there right away, because I wasn't gonna have any of that. I don't know. In the last video we already saw at the Zoo of Münster, where you also had an elephant feeding presentation, which I was already not 100% okay with, and especially with elephants. It's just such a loaded topic. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to avoid that, but that's just me. Let's continue looking at some habitats. We're gonna go from best to worst, because sadly there's quite a lot on the worst scale. So I want to start off with some nice things over here and making our way into Depression Zone. So, to my surprise, my favorite elephant habitat that I've seen since making the last video is actually one in India. I was not expecting that. I had the perception that in Asia, a lot of the elephant enclosures aren't that great. But look at this. It is huge. It's green. It's lush. It's fantastic. The only downside is the U mode, which is something I generally don't like. We'll get into that as we move further into the video. But I think with an enclosure of this size, the risks of a U mode are definitely mostly negated, and I mean, the pros outweigh the cons here. This is an amazing habitat. Good job, Vanderloo Zoo, Arignar, and Zoological Park. I still don't know which names to use there. Anyway, next up is the Zoo of Prague, Zoo Praha, where we have another beautiful habitat over here. It's large, it's spacious, those mean the same thing, what am I doing? It's just really beautiful with all of the grass, which I'm always surprised when an elephant enclosure has this much grass. It's got a pretty unique layout, or an interesting layout at least, thanks to a bunch of trees and rocks and patches of plants breaking up the sidelines. It's just really, really beautiful. As we go through this corridor over here, you can see some elephant theming, some Indian stuff, lots of props all around, and tons of educational boards full of information about these animals. The only thing I was a little critical about regarding this particular path is that the viewing points into the habitat from here aren't all that great. It's mainly about the education and the extra things you can learn about the elephants here. The better viewing points are on the other side of the habitat, more along the main road. But there is definitely a lot of cool stuff to learn here, lots of nice details, and the best thing of all, which we'll get to in a second, after looking inside at this little building, which has a little video playing about elephants. I know, but on the other side of this is the elephant simulator. Now, what could that possibly be? I was definitely very curious, so I paid the fee. I went inside the elephant simulator because I just had to know. And it is a simulation of riding an elephant. It is absolutely ridiculous and stupid. So you're just walking through the forest, and this elephant is actually moving a little bit to simulate the elephant you're sitting on walking. But it's so funny because this scene gets like super intense with the elephant running away, and the thing you're sitting on is just going doot 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 doot. So it's just, it doesn't match the video at all. It's fantastic, highly recommend, totally worth the money. Not at all. And yeah, that's the end of that little pathway, and then you get into the indoor pavilion, where I was a little bit shocked at the fact that there's a lot of education here about elephant hooks, and they show you like, oh, look at all these different elephant hooks, this is how you control elephants. And I'm like, okay, I thought that's a practice that was not really being done in modern zoos anymore. I know some still do, but I know especially in the AZA they've basically banned it, as far as I know at least. Like, it's highly not recommended as just not being a thing of the modern zoo anymore. So it was a bit weird to see all those educational signs about it, kind of being proud of it in a way. At least that's how it came across to me. So that was a bit odd, but cool views into the stalls, as you can see. And now we are moving along, going to the enclosure again from the other side, from kind of the main pathway, where you have much better views into it, where you can really see just how spacious and nice it is. So let's forget about the sad elephant hooks in the stalls and just enjoy this beautiful landscape that they created here for the animals to traverse, because it is really cool. And there's even more theming as we get into the middle of the habitat, where there's this little Buddhist temple with some lovely background noise, really tranquil stuff right there. But from up here you can also look a little bit more into the habitat. You can see kind of the modes that they have. And then over here there's just a fun little area that brings you a little bit more into the area. It's kind of a peninsula, as you could say, into the enclosure, which gets you some more unique views. And this area was actually rented out for the first half of the day, so apparently that's a thing you can do. Some people rented this out for a wedding, so they were having a wedding in the middle of all the elephants, which is pretty cool. You can see over here they also have a nice large pool to bathe in, so that probably offers some pretty cool views as well. There's also some more theming in this area. Over here you can see a shrine to the Hindu god Ganesha, which is something that a lot of zoos put in their elephant areas. I mean, it makes sense. It's the elephant god, basically. Here you can see another beautiful statue of them, and you can see exactly where people like to touch it as well, which is interesting. And then there's another one of those as well as another viewing area. There's this little elevated thing you can climb up to get a better view of the elephants near their pool area with the waterfall. That's all pretty cool right there as well. And there is even more as you continue to follow the main road. You can see just how far this enclosure goes. And the grass you can see in the back actually is a green roof of the elephant stall. So that's actually the stall in the background, and you can see it over here as well. And then this is the elephant bull yard. So this is the second enclosure for the bulls. And that concludes the elephant habitat of Prague. We spent a bit of time here. It's a big enclosure and I really wanted to show you it all. But we are finally moving on to the Zoo of Berlin. And this is where things already start to go downhill, I'm afraid. Because the first thing I saw of the elephants here was this. And I mean, what the fuck? That's all I can say here. This is not what I was expecting from a zoo like Berlin, to be honest. A U-mode, which is infamously known as being a major hazard for elephants to fall into. It's happened in the past at many zoos, and definitely with an enclosure of this size I can see it easily happen again. But yeah, that's an enclosure you have to walk past to get to the elephant house over here, which actually, even though it definitely looks a bit dated, it's not a bad facility for holding the elephants, I would say. I don't know, I'm not an expert on the matter, but it's quite spacious. It looks pretty good, if not a little dated. Not as dated as this shit though. Let's quickly move away from that because it does get better. That's why Berlin is still at the early part of the video before it gets really depressing. And because there is more to the enclosure, there is also this yard over here, which is a lot more spacious, has some green patches and a nice pool over here as well, as you can see. So yeah, this definitely salvaged it at least a little bit, because yeah, from places like this you can actually get some pretty good views of the elephants, and they look like they have a fair amount of space. I wouldn't say it's great still, but again, Berlin is a city zoo. It's yeah. At least the landscaping around the visitor side is nice. That's something. But yeah, not my favorite of the enclosures, but probably a product of its time more than anything. Anyway, let's move on to the next zoo. We're going to the Czech Republic, and this is the Zoo of Ostrava, where we are first checking out the indoor area as we're making our way past this giant whale skeleton and pretty good looking mural of a bunch of different elephants. We enter and we immediately see a very small space, but that is only for the bull. That is the bull stall. You can see they have a little pool over there as well, and then actually a pretty nice looking, like this is a really good looking stall in my opinion. It is very concrete-y. Like there is not a lot of natural substrate or anything. In fact, there's none. It's all rock and concrete, which is not the greatest. I think modern husbandry standards do include a bit more like sand bottoms. But yeah, this over here is the bull yard for the elephants here, and that actually looks really quite nice, I have to say. Most of the viewing points over here are kind of at these elevations to kind of bring you into the enclosure a little bit, and we can see in the distance the other elephants are actually coming outside into their enclosure over here. They've got a nice pool and they've got a nice shade structure around the enclosure. There's a lot of cool decorations like this skeleton over here, and yeah, this viewing point over here will give us a really nice overview of the enclosure, and it's actually quite spacious. I'm starting to think this should have been in front of Berlin, to be honest. I feel like I like this one more than Berlin. The only thing is that there isn't a lot of lushness, not a lot of plants in the enclosure, but that does mean it's just more space for the elephants, right? So yeah, I don't know, this one's actually pretty good. Small backstage peek before I had to duck away because a staff member was looking at me funny. Yeah, Ostrava is actually really quite nice. Then next up we have the Silesian Zoo, or the Chorzów Zoo. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but this is the elephant enclosure. Again, it is a U-mode, although this U-mode does have kind of a protective railing, so I think it's not as likely for an elephant to fall into this one, which is a pretty good thing. And it's still a pretty spacious enclosure over here. It definitely got some unique terrain over here as well. I don't know, it's not the worst enclosure. The indoor area is also pretty good looking, at least from the outside. It's an interesting building, but on the inside it is a little bit crammed. Like, this is not something I really would like to see. A lot of the space here is lost on these terrariums, which, although they don't take up that much space, they're on the outer ring. So if you would have pushed the visitor path all the way to the outside, you would have so much more space for the elephants, and now they're kind of locked in this little island over here in the middle. And there is more stall space, I guess, in the center core, but that looks like a pretty tiny room as well. This seems to have been a hippo house in the past, looking at the fact that there's a hippo skeleton and some posters of hippos near the exit. I'm not sure what the rule, was it a hippo house before elephant house? I'm not sure what the situation was in the past. But yeah, moving along, you can go all the way around this enclosure, so you can see it from all kinds of angles. It's pretty empty on the inside, but yeah, I don't think it's the worst one either. Though I did just notice that that thing that I thought was a shade structure does not really offer any shade at all. So this enclosure definitely needs a bit more shade. But anyway, that's it for all the decent, at least, enclosures. Now we're gonna get to the kind of bad stuff. And you wouldn't say that, because as we are in Tierpark Hagenbeck over here, this actually looks really good, right? Like, this is a really beautiful stall. It's pretty spacious. We got a sandy substrate. We got nice theming. Not that that means much for the elephants themselves, but it does make it look really nice. There's also a second floor to this visitor area as well. As you can see, you can go up these stairs and view it from above as well. The elephants all look nice and happy. And even when we go outside, everything seems to be fine. This looks like a pretty nice spacious enclosure as well. I got a nice big space for a pool over here, which was still being filled up, which is why we couldn't really see that in its full effect. We do again have a U-mode over here in the front, which isn't perfect, but at least the enclosure itself does look pretty nice. It's pretty spacious, and we've got some nice greenery in the background. There's some faux rock walls in the back as well, and as we continue to walk alongside it, there is also this yard, which I'm not sure is still used for the elephants or not, but by looking at the amount of grass, I would put that in doubt. So why is this so far down my list? It all looks really nice. Well, it's mainly just vibes I got, which is a weird thing to say. It's just, as I was walking out of the park, I saw this, what we're looking at right now. The elephants were standing over here together with a keeper who was holding an elephant hook, and the elephants were kind of just standing over here close to the moat, kind of interacting with the guests in a way. Like, this one is about to reach over and guests will start touching its trunk and things like that. And the keeper seemed to be encouraging it, like he walked the rest of the elephants over to the edge to like do this thing, to be like, oh, look at our elephants, look at how much fun elephants are. And it just gave me a really bad feeling. I don't know, I just felt something felt really off about all this, and it just made me really sus of all this stuff. Like, this made me feel worse than the various elephant feeding things that we've seen so far. And I can't really explain why. I just really didn't like it. So I would like to move on. This is the Zoo of Liberec in the Czech Republic once again. And we're first going to enter the elephant stall. And already you'll see why this is further down the list. This is something that you would expect to be this far down the list, right? We've got a really small space, a tiny pool. Yeah, this is something that I would expect to see in like a black and white photo of zoos of the ages gone by. But yeah, no, this still exists in an EAZA zoo nonetheless. So that definitely rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. The outer enclosure also sucks ass. As you can see, we've got a U mode and a tiny, tiny space. This is like 1,000 square meters. It's as bad as the Zoo of Krefeld, which I never thought I would find another enclosure that is as bad as that one. But yeah, there is actually worse. It does get worse. Last and definitely least is the Zoo of Kathmandu in Nepal, where this was the enclosure. Absolutely pitiful. So yeah, not everything in Asia is as good as the Vandalur Zoo, sadly. But yeah, those were all the Asian elephant enclosures I've seen since making the previous Asian elephant video. If you haven't checked that one out yet and you want some more inspiration, go check out the other one and enjoy the Bornean elephant. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye!